Hi booktubers, my name is Mizzy on BookTube, and today I want to talk to you about writing horror stories. This year for NaNoWriMo, I will be writing my first ever horror novel. It will be a YA kind of comic horror that I am calling The Clopening, about a group of teenagers who get locked in a pastel pink department store overnight, and there may or may not be zombie vampires after them the whole time. Oh, hi. Look, I have a black cat just for the horror video. She is not pleased. I'm sorry. I regret everything. Now, because this is my first attempt at writing a full horror novel, I have been doing a lot of research and studying about what makes horror horrific. Now, I myself am a massive horror fan, but a lot of my horror knowledge comes from film and TV, horror movies, basically. So I want to share what I've learned with you guys. Now, rule one of writing a horror story is to set the scene. Horror stories should be super moody, or at least have a very specific mood. So your settings have to be really massive and beautiful. They have to be really realistic feeling, and they have to have a real atmosphere. There's not a lot scary about sitting in your bedroom during the day, for example, but films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or It Follows that take place during the daytime are almost scarier because these are situations we find ourselves in all the time. So for something horrific to happen during them, it's extra spooky. Second thing I've learned, kill your darlings. Now, I don't necessarily mean actually killing every single character in your book. I just mean that your story has to have darlings in the first place. Not darlings in the sense of plot points or, you know, beautiful pieces of prose. I mean actual great characters that your reader can get behind and really start to support. I mean, after all, what's a horror story if you don't care what happens to the people in it? For example, if I was in a horror story right now, would you care about me as much if I didn't have this super adorable cat in the background of my video? 'Cause like, I don't know if I would. The third thing I've learned about writing horror is listen to the voices. I mean, you could have a character that literally hears voices and or sees dead people, because apparently that works. But what I mean is really be specific about the voice you choose for your horror piece. Second person is a voice type that I've seen used really beautifully in horror stories. Second person, if you don't know, is when the author is talking directly to you and explaining what you are doing inside the story. For example, you are sitting at home watching a YouTube video when all of a sudden a monster comes up behind you and just give me 1 second. One quick second. Okay, sorry about that, you guys. This is actually really nice because I've always wanted to come and shoot a video out here on my nice balcony, so this is a really good opportunity to do that. Okay, so a fourth thing that I've learned about writing horror is try to scare me in more than one way at a time. You know, ghosts are scary, but are they as scary as taxes, for example? I don't think so. Or darkness is scary, but is there anything darker than the darkness you have inside? So, for example, if you have a character like Jack Torrance in The Shining is scary because they're in a haunted hotel. However, The Shining is even scarier because Jack himself is not only a dull boy, but an abusive father and an abusive husband. So you're really scaring me in two ways, in that you have the domestic fear of the not so nice family man, and you also have the hotel fear of ghosts and things like that. The fifth thing that I've learned about horror is you should scare me in two ways at once. Yeah, that's true, I guess, but also pacing. Pacing is super important to a horror film. So, for example, if you are writing a horror film or a horror novel, we're talking about novels right now, aren't we? You should really pick up the pace when it feels appropriate. So, for example, when the when the monsters show up behind your main character, you should really start to pick up the pace in your story and really take your character on a journey. So take them somewhere where a lot of excitement can happen really quickly all at once, and maybe like hide them in a corner and see if the monster ends up coming for them from there. Just 1 second, sorry. I'm just gonna sorry. The sixth thing that I have learned about horror is scary things don't necessarily happen in the dark all the time. So there's that. And ghosts are scary, but so are taxes. I said that. So the sixth thing I've learned about horror is that you shouldn't give me all the answers necessarily at once, because if I have all the answers, I'm not going to be scared, because if I know that the monster is a vampire, I know exactly how to survive a vampire, right? You know, you just gotta stake them or get them out into the sunlight. Super easy to defeat a vampire. At least if you're me, I'm great at defeating vampires, so they can't scare me. And oh my god, hold on 1 sec. The most important thing, remind yourself of a time that you were really scared, and try and think about how you felt. Think about how your palms were sweaty, mom's spaghetti, and your pulse was really racing. Like, I mean, really, really racing. And it's really hard to breathe sometimes. Maybe you're quiet. Maybe you're quieter than you normally are because you're a little more afraid than you normally are. And that's okay. That's okay if you're afraid, because you know, it's normal to be afraid, and we all can recognize what that feels like. So when you're writing it in your novel, really put yourself in your main character's perspective and really try to empathize with them. Just try to chase your character into a corner and feel what they feel and give them the opportunity to fight back. And those are 7 things that I've learned about writing horror that I think you should all know when you're writing horror. When you're writing your horror novels, best of luck, and I hope that you will like this video. And if you really like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'm gonna be doing lots more kind of authory in training videos and trying to learn more about writing as I go along. And if any of you are doing NaNoWriMo, please reach out to me. I am definitely doing NaNoWriMo, and I would love to have more nano buddies. So I will talk to you guys soon. And in the meantime, you know, try not to get eaten by vampires.